problem is, it's like when your hair grows back, when it's that length, it resembles pubes, right? Doesn't it? That's the rule.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
So is that kind of the point you were trying to
Interesting
drive
observation. Yeah. So you're asking whether I'm going grey everywhere is what you're asking.
Essentially, yeah.
Well, I'm getting older. Jake, I've got a new hero.
Tell me who your hero is.
You might not be surprised at this, but the guy just makes me laugh, and he's a bit of a king. Ryan Serhant.
Oh, are you watching that Owning Manhattan thing? Is it Building Manhattan, Owning Manhattan?
Owning Manhattan.
Yeah.
I like that kind of stuff because it's quite motivating.
Well, I watched one episode of that and I felt like I was just observing you. Like, that guy is probably nearly as egotistical when it comes to sales as you. So
great. I don't know whether that's a compliment or not, but I am going as grey as him too. Like I keep everyone who's watched on YouTube and stuff will see that sometimes I have a shaved head. Right, I just go through a phase. I'm like,
you go
shave
for it. You
off.
like a buzz cut, don't you?
Yeah, get it off. You know, look like I'm in the Marines without the muscle.
Mm.
And so I whip the hair off, but then I'm like, it gets to this kind of length, and I'm like, do I do it again? But it keeps on coming back. It's grayer.
Well, the problem is, it's like when your hair grows back, when it's that length, it resembles pubes, right? Doesn't it? That's the rule.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
So is that kind of the point you were trying to
Interesting
drive
observation. Yeah. So you're asking whether I'm going grey everywhere is what you're asking.
Essentially, yeah.
Well, I'm getting older. But Ryan Serhant, new hero. If you haven't watched it yet and you like this like really kick-ass, amazing properties, just go watch Owning Manhattan.
Well, he's grey, isn't he?
He is. But I don't know if it's like, I think he's died.
See,
Pretty
things
sure
like
he's
this
died.
annoy me. Like you're moaning about like the odd strand of grey hair. This guy over here is losing his hair and is going grey. I've got the double whammy, and
Yeah, I mean that is horrible.
and hence why I wear a hat most of the time.
Yeah, it's a cool hat though. That's the new revamp hat, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it is.
You're watching this on YouTube right now. You're seeing the new revamp hat.
Repping.
A lot of our clients now have that hat and love it. It's a cool hat.
As always, I design stuff that I think I'd quite like to wear, and then hopefully members would like to wear it as well.
And if they don't, who cares?
Moving on to the topic today, we're going to talk about how to build an appointment funnel for your gym. This is what I kind of feel like is our specialty. This is where I feel like if people were to say, Jake, go and do a, was it mastermind? Where you have to choose a topic.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure whether they'd accept appointment funnel for a local fitness studio as my topic, but this is what I feel like I could do a TED talk on, for example. So
yeah, well, you're going to do a lot of talking today. But what I will say is, if you like money, you'll like this episode.
What? I like that. I mean, let's just lead with that for every episode.
So let's kick it off. Introduction.
Should we just talk about what a funnel is for anybody that actually might not know what a funnel is in terms of marketing terms?
Okay, I feel like a lot of our audience would have heard of a funnel, but maybe they might need a quick explanation.
So basically,
take it away, Jay.
It's a journey that you take somebody who has never heard of you before to somebody that will buy from you, right? So it's multiple steps are included within that journey. So how do you take somebody that has zero interest or idea of who you are to somebody that ultimately becomes your client for life? That's the simplest way that I could sum up a funnel.
Okay, cool. We're going to go through our appointment funnel and what our clients do, how we automate it, pages we build, all that good stuff. And we're going to go through, as always, a step-by-step on what we do.
Just how we like it. So obviously the reason you want these steps in place and the reason you actually want to create this with purpose is because you don't want a messy pipeline, right? What's worse than a messy pipeline? Nothing.
No pipeline whatsoever.
Well, that's true, yeah. But as a salesperson, for example, you rely on that pipeline to ensure we get results. So if you had zero way of actually tracking who's a lead, who's booked an appointment, who's perhaps thinking about it and all this kind of thing, it would just be a nightmare with the amount of people obviously that we run through the door.
There's nothing worse than a lead not having a clear next step. So you need to make sure there's a clear next step in every single pipeline, and the same is with a funnel.
Absolutely. So we want it to be nice and streamlined. So just as a kind of like an intro into all of this, obviously you're going to need some kind of CRM, some kind of like software that you can track all of this. So there's multiple different pieces of software out there, some which are a little bit more kind of general, some are way more niche to the fitness industry. We love the guys at Lead Deck. We'll include a link below that you can sign up as an affiliate link. So we'll include that below. But they are, the reason we love them is because we work together in partnership with our clients where we actually copy over all of our funnels and all of our automations and all of our workflows, everything that we use at Revamp. For all of our coaching clients, we just copy that over into Lead Deck, and every single client gets their own snapshot of what we're actually using in real time. So that's the reason why we love them. But also, they have way more flexibility in terms of like messages, emails, and all that kind of thing that goes out. But there's loads of others out there like HubSpot, ActiveCampaign. Yeah, that's the only two that I can think of off the top of my head. But loads out
there. There are tons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the kind of the key ingredients for an appointment funnel that you need is a way to nurture leads, a way to get people to book appointments, obviously in a fitness studio setting, and a way to ensure that they show up for those appointments, and a way to ensure that they actually say yes when they turn up to that appointment, right?
And pay. Yeah.
And pay. So the first thing you're going to need to do, obviously, is you're going to need to, if we're talking about appointment funnel specifically, you're going to need a calendar set with times that people can book into, right? So obviously our calendar is your calendar, so it's synced up with all of your personal and work calendars and everything like that. The thing is with you, because you've got so much going on, there's very limited time that people can book appointments, which is why, especially at the beginning when you have more time, it's important just to open as much of your calendar as physically possible, because the more optionality you have, the higher chance that people will book in, because if they can't find a time that they can book into, there's going to be way more friction. They're just not going to book, right? So I think one of the main things you need to do when you have that calendar at the beginning is obviously sync it with all of your other calendars to make sure there's no conflicts, but to also have set allocated time to take appointments. Because one of the biggest mistakes that we find with studio owners is they perhaps underestimate the amount of time required to actually acquire new members into the gym, and they overestimate the amount of time that they're needed to deliver sessions in the gym. So they don't often leave that buffer or that time or that white space in their calendar to actually bring new people into the gym. Is that an accurate
that's
representation?
Fair. I think a quick one on calendars and appointments. We let leads book the next day, which is important. We don't do same day. We let them book next day, and we let them go up to 2 weeks ahead in our calendar, which is actually quite long. I think like in an ideal world we could do 1 week, 10 days, but we let them go 2 weeks out. We don't let them go a month out, for example.
That's where like more time in your calendar can allow you to constrain that period of time, can't it? Right. So if you have a full calendar every single day, completely free to take appointments, then you might even find it's probably more beneficial to only open up that calendar for like 3 days, for example, instead of 2 weeks.
Yep. Yeah, but we have 30-minute slots as well, don't we, Jake?
Yep.
So 30-minute slots, and we go back to back. We don't leave any buffer time between. I think it's great for a new lead to come in the studio with someone who's just finished their consult holding their new Revamp bag. Again, it's just affirmation to them that someone else has just signed up and spaces are leaving and getting low. So we just go back to back with our calendar time to get as many appointments in as possible.
I think there's another psychological factor as well, where if you specifically block out times in your diary for appointments and those times aren't getting filled with appointments, then perhaps you are more incentivized to get appointments booked in. I kind of think of it like that, where if you allow time in your diary for that given purpose, and if you build your diary by design, then hopefully it would lead to more appointments as a byproduct of that.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool.
Number 2.
Yeah, so number 1 obviously there, in case did we actually introduce number 1 there? Is organize your calendar as number 1.
Get your calendar sorted.
Yeah.
Don't make sure that someone jumps onto a booking consult link and doesn't see a single time. Like you need to, like, more times the better for these guys. Really important.
And always check back on your calendar as well from the client's perspective or the prospect's perspective, because you might have less time than you think in your calendar, and that's obviously reflective of when you're running ads. So you might only have like 2 times available in the next like 7 days, and that can easily happen if you just keep adding things to your diary. So just make sure you're checking back and opening up more time when you need to. Hey, quick one from us. If you're enjoying this episode, you'll love our free weekly newsletter.
It's for current and aspiring studio owners who are looking for the latest growth hacks to sign up more members and keep them.
It's a quick 2-minute email covering the stuff we're testing in our own gyms.
So you'll be getting access to what's working today.
If you're interested, you can join 3,500 gym owners and go to thefitpreneur.com and subscribe.
That's thefitpreneur.com. Anyway, back to the episode. Like it. Number 2, automating your appointments. everyone's going, oh, automating, what a word. Everyone gets so excited by the word automating, don't they?
Well, it's one of those, again, I often have my soapbox moment where I talk about automation versus kind of the manual work. And the way that I see it is that all studio owners, especially beginner studio owners, should be at least experiencing the manual work before they automate it, so they have context on what they're automating, because otherwise they're trying to rely on this tool to do all of the work for them. When actually, when you have that insight and you have a reason to use the tool, you can add nuances, you can edit automations, you can throw things in if you need to, so it becomes way more built to assist you as opposed to built to run for you. But one of the main reasons for automations in general, especially within this pipeline and the appointment funnel, is to make sure that we don't get any leads falling through the cracks. So we're making sure that at every single column, if you were to imagine like a pipeline as like a column layout, we've got leads, we've got appointments booked, we've got appointments sat, we've got sales made, we've got all of those different steps. Think of your automations as like the steps between, to make sure that nobody falls through. Okay, so a couple of the ones that we obviously have in place is when anybody sees a Facebook ad and they opt in via Facebook, we then send that lead through to our CRM at Lead Deck. And then we have a lead nurture sequence that goes out to basically share stories, share insights, educate them on our product here at Revamp. And the whole idea of that sequence is to get people to book an appointment. Okay, so every single call to action is like, if this sounds like you, book an appointment and we'll chat together in a consultation. Once they book that appointment, obviously that's number one tick done. But we need to make sure now that we have automations in place to ensure that they actually turn up for that appointment. So we have like a confirmation and reminder as to when, here's the time, turn up here, all of this kind of thing, right? And then there comes the problem is if they decide to cancel up into the time of their appointment, then we have an automation to go out to make sure that they rebook. And if they don't show up for their appointment, then we have an automation in place to make sure they rebook again. So we always are trying to just pick people up if they fall. Like you said, if you're leading sessions all day, or if you're taking appointments all day, it's very unlikely you're going to have enough time in the day to do those manual follow-ups. So we try and just at least get a baseline of automations in place that then allows you to build on it if needs be. So yeah, a couple of points on that as well I've just got here. Obviously, I mentioned some of those sequences that we have, but I think as a general rule of thumb, and something that we try and coach all of our studio owners on, is expect somebody to not show up for their consultation. Like, expect that as the default, because that will then encourage you and incentivize you to ensure that that person does turn up. And there's loads of different things that you can do to just increase your chances of that. I mean, you were speaking about some the other day in terms of, like a phone call in the morning.
Yeah.
Or what are some of those others that you were, because I know you said as well about like how photos can work too.
Yeah, because obviously we've done text reminders and email reminders. What do we do, Jake? 24 hours before and an hour before?
Something like that. It's 24. It's like an initial confirmation, then it's one a day before, and then it's one an hour before. And, we do all of that.
Yeah, but I always spend 15 minutes in the morning of every single day just phoning each lead, just making sure we're good for the certain time, reminding them of the location. And I'd like them to be there 5 minutes before. Like, these things are really important. So that's one. In terms of the picture one, I can't remember what we said about the picture.
Well, I think one of our studio owners last year, his show up rate was decreasing. And one of the things we put in place with him was like try and personalize the consultation to increase the perceived value of it. So, and very easy low hanging fruit there is if you've got a sales deck, on the front page of the sales deck, just type in or write the name of your prospect on it, right? Just using Canva or something like that. Take a selfie with your screen behind, and then that person then through reciprocity is going to want to turn up because they feel like you've gone to all this work for them. Or at least if they don't want to turn up, they'll tell you before that appointment, just to obviously not let you down.
Yeah, and one for us is we give a t-shirt away if they sign up. So giving them a message or a phone call like the day before, just saying, hey, Jake, just checking what size you are t-shirt, as I want to get that ready for you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then them saying, oh, I'm a medium. So now they're incentivized to turn up.
Yeah.
So that's another good way to do it. But there's loads of ways that we can make sure that we get them there.
But I think, we can't be complacent, especially in the beginning stages of your studio. Like, expect the no-show, because then you'll do everything in your power to ensure they show up, or at least tell you they're not, and then open up their space for somebody else. One other way to increase show up rates, because obviously, like I said, in terms of this pipeline, again, just to reiterate, we have leads, appointments booked, and appointments sat. So from the appointments booked to appointments sat, we want to fill that time with as much information as possible to ensure that they show up for that appointment, okay, or answer any questions, cover any objections. And one of the most effective ways that we've found to do this is through the use of what we call like an FAQ page. So once somebody actually schedules that appointment, what tends to happen with most studios, it will just be like a simple, thank you, your time is booked in, look forward to seeing you, right? But you're getting somebody there where they're they have the most intent, right? They've gone out of their way to find a time in their diary that works. They've scheduled that appointment in, so they're the most ready at that point. From that point up until when the appointment is taken, their intent is going to decrease. So it makes sense at that point to give them more information and cover any objections that they may have there in that moment. So we use an FAQ page to do this. So once somebody schedules in that appointment, it then redirects them through to an FAQ page where there's a video of you basically saying, hey, thank you so much for booking your consultation. Really look forward to seeing you. Before the consultation itself, though, please take 5 to 10 minutes out of your time, out of your day, just to scroll down to this page and watch the other videos we have here for you. This will give you way more clarity in terms of what to expect at the consultation, and it also just makes sure that you're nice and prepared, and so am I, right? And what that is basically videos of you handling objections, common objections, but framed as frequently asked questions. So, the most common objection around price is, it's too expensive, right? That's the objection. It's too expensive. So we just frame that as how much does it cost, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a video of you basically obviously handling that objection and laying down some truths around cost and price points and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Another objection obviously would get is I don't have the time to do this. So the question then is, can I fit this into my busy schedule? Or how will I ensure I have enough time for this?
Yeah.
And then you respond to it.
Yeah, exactly that. So I think there's like 5 videos on that page just handling these objections. And every single time that someone comes in, I ask them the question, did you manage to watch through those videos? And they always say, yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you. And it puts them into the mindset of, okay, I can't use excuses. Look, those videos are covered, right? Because technically I've watched them all already and I'm still here.
Yeah.
So it increases the likelihood of them turning up and closing.
It also scales the touch points as well. So like if somebody's watching that first video, they've seen your face, they've kind of gauged how you interact. They've then watched other kind of 2 to 3 minute videos down the page. So in total, they've watched like 15 minutes of you speaking to them already. Yeah. So again, if they turn up, they're going to be way more inclined to buy because they've already seen your face.
I'm the best friend at that point.
Yeah. So yeah, we touched upon there. So number 3 was to build an FAQ page. I always say an FAQ. It should be a FAQ page, shouldn't it?
I'm Jake.
I'm
terrible at English. Chat GPT is my best friend at the moment.
So I'm now going to talk about number 4, which is create what we call fill the gap content.
And this is the final one. So let's just quickly summarize. We've gone, number 1 is organize your calendar. Number 2 is automate your appointments. Okay, where we talked about the sequences. Number 3 is build an FAQ page. And number 4 is create the fill the gap content.
And this fill the gap content is people tend to neglect this because you can't measure it right within your pipeline, because it does work for you that you're not even aware of. So this is where the power of organic content comes into play, because what tends to happen, say for example, you're looking to buy something, right? And you're trying to make a decision as to whether you want to buy it or not. What do you do in that time where you try to when you're making that decision?
Watch videos, listen to books, look at content.
Yeah.
I think like the biggest thing is when coaching clients come to us and want to work with us, new studios who are launching or who are trying to grow, I always say like, how did you find out about us? And they always say the podcast.
Yeah.
Or like, I watch you guys on YouTube all the time. So they get to binge our content whilst trying to make a decision whether they want to actually sit down and talk to us or not. So it's hugely important. But we have no idea technically of the value. We can't measure that.
No. And often this is what I see when new studio owners come to us, where it's like, guys, I've been running ads. Like I've looked at your ads in the ad library. I'm running them, exactly the same as yours, same copy, same creative, but I'm not getting results. Like what is going on? And then we look under the hood and we look at their Instagram or their Facebook, and there's like the last post was like 3 months ago. And again, you got to kind of frame content, organic content on Instagram and Facebook and other platforms as proof that you exist and proof that you are legit. Because when somebody is looking to make a purchasing decision, they're looking for like reasons to reinforce that decision. And if those reasons aren't there, aka just videos of your sessions going on, pictures of your coaches, testimonials going into your, Instagram feed, other members joining, holding up their t-shirts. If those touch points aren't there, then they're going to be less inclined to buy. So I think you cannot underestimate the power of organic content in your funnel, in your appointment funnel, and the work that those assets do. Because without them, you'd quickly realize that actually they play a huge part.
Yeah, massive. Just a client yesterday, his ads are rolling really well, and we're like, what organic levers can we pull, which could get some more appointments in the door? And one really simple one was he's welcomed like 12 new front ends in the last 6 days, something like that. So I said, like, stand there with a picture of your lovely studio behind, with a blank white piece of paper written on there. 12 people have joined us in the last 6 days with a really surprised, shocked face. And then put that out on the local community group that he has utilized before with his launch. And then in the comment section, post a picture of every single new member welcoming each person with their standing there with their t-shirt. Like, so there's like 12 comments under, welcome Karen, welcome Jake, welcome H, right? And he did that, and that is going to yield that could easily yield 10 appointments.
Yeah.
From that.
And when we wrote a newsletter about this topic we're talking about today, we actually included, I think, an image of a screenshot of somebody's customer journey at Revamp. And in terms of like what happened when they joined the waiting list like in October when we first initiated that waiting list. They then went on the appointment page a month after, but didn't schedule. They then, a month after that, did the same thing. Then they actually went to schedule and they selected a time, but they didn't book, right? And it took, I think with this individual, like 10 months for them to actually book a consultation. And it was as a result of the right piece of content at the right time, in their feed. And they went ahead and they booked a consultation because of it. So I think, again, a rookie mistake is to think that these conversion windows need to be like 1 week long, right? If you're putting in the reps, and we're going to talk about organic content in the next few weeks in terms of the strategy that we're using at the moment, which is working for us. But if you're putting in those reps, then it's going to increase your percentages tenfold. And we're going to talk about those quick percentages now. Do you want to just go into some KPIs? Because some people might have the question of okay, what can I expect then in terms of my funnel? Of how many people from leads go to appointments booked? And should we go through in terms of, because we did some average numbers across some clients the other day in terms of like a 12-month span.
Yeah.
Do you want to quickly walk through those?
Yeah, I'll try and get the actual numbers as well. So this is going to test my maths. So leads to appointments booked, we're looking at a 25% KPI. Okay, so let's say, for example, let's start with 100 leads. Yeah, Jake?
Yeah.
So 100 leads to appointments booked, that's 25 appointments booked. Now, appointments booked to appointments sat is around 50% as a KPI, okay? So let's call that, half of 25. Let's just call it 13, round it up to 13 appointments sat. App sat to front end sales, okay, we're looking at a 75% close rate, okay? So that's 13, 75% of 13. I'm going to say round it up to about 10. Okay, so that's 10 front end sales. Then front end sales to members, recurring members, we're looking at a 50% KPI. So that's then 5 members who have gone on to after the front end. So in terms of front end sales made of 100 leads, 10 times £299, it's £2,999, I think. Yeah,
that was me.
I could butcher the maths. And then of those that go on to members is 50%.
And this is where you make that shift from personal trainer to gym owner, right? When you actually start to recognize the value of those percentages, because any of those percentages, if they're below KPI, will have a huge impact on your business over, 5-10 years, right? So this is where, when we're talking about an appointment funnel, doing everything you can to prevent leads from falling through those cracks is so important, because if you do that work behind the scenes, if you post organic content, if you optimize your FAQ page, if you have all of these things in place, it just means that you're adding way more revenue to the business than you would otherwise. And I actually set up like a very quick like calculator. And again, you can share this as well with you guys. Just reach out to us and we'll send it to you. But like the cost per lead on average, I mean, now for most studio owners, you're looking at like £10 for a qualified lead, right? So whoever put £10 into there as a cost per lead, and if we had a desired number of new monthly recurring revenue clients, say for example, you want a new like 5 more clients in this next 30 days, okay? People who are actually going to pay you forever every single month, not front ends. And if I was to put that in and then hit calculate, the amount of leads required, just based on those benchmarks we just mentioned there, the amount of leads required would be 107. The amount of appointments booked would be 27. The amount of appointments sat would be 14. And the amount of front end sales would be 10. And therefore the amount of new members would be 5, which would then accurately predict that you need to spend, if you were to run Facebook ads, £1,066.67 in order to get those results.
Those numbers were pretty much bang on what I just mentioned as well.
So, but this is where so wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to spend that much?
Of course.
Right? So if your cost per acquisition was lower, which is where the organic content comes in, and it's where you can build a better product so you get more referrals. You can actually focus on these other elements so you didn't actually have to spend as much money in advertising.
You can just put some time into building out these sequences so more people show up to their appointments. Like
exactly,
you'd be shocked if you can bring that that leads to appointments booked from 10% to 25%. You're going to make thousands more pounds per month.
Yeah, but what do most studio owners do? They sit there and they're like, I need more clients.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool, how are you going to get them? And they're like, I have no idea.
I just hate the word need. Don't you hate the word need?
But this is what I mean.
I always say change need to want.
If
I want 10 more clients. Okay, if you want it, then you're going to try and strategize exactly how you're going to get it. But if you say need, like it's just you're shooting in the dark all the time just with the language you use.
And this is where like acquisition is never an issue really for us, is because we know these numbers and we can actually reverse engineer how many clients we want. And this is why it's never an issue for our clients as well. What tends to be an issue is the constraints. It's the amount of time in their diary to take appointments. It's how the product can continue to improve whilst acquiring all these new members all at once. In terms of actually getting the clients through the door, this is a proven formula with an appointment funnel. It's there. It does that for you. But you'll realize that it's not always clients that you need. It's sometimes you need to actually make a better product, or you need to retain more clients or you need to post more organic content to improve your show up rates and all of this kind of thing, right? So that's what I would just kind of end with there.
Love it. I think we're complete.
Yeah, so I feel like I've talked a lot through that episode today.
One final quick summarize. Number 1, organize your calendar. Number 2, automate your appointments. Number 3, build an FAQ page. And number 4, create fill the gap content, that organic content that we've just been talking about.
Do all those 4 things and you will create a well-oiled appointment funnel. That gets people signing up without you really having to do much, because you're just kind of plugging people in at the front and you're getting clients out at the end.
Great process. That's the pod, Jake.
That is the pod. Have a lovely day wherever you are.